Focus on Ghana is brought to you in association with MoneyGram.
Welcome back to the very lively discussion of Ghanaian businesses. Around your corner, you know a Ghanaian restaurant. You know a Nigerian restaurant somewhere. On the Old Kent Road, I've seen the Sierra Leonean bar there. I enjoy that together with my producer. We go there often. Then you have the law firms, and you have all the other things that go to help us live as Africans who have migrated into the UK. What do you think of such? What are the businesses doing right or wrong, and what are your impressions about that? You can join our discussion by phoning 0207 501 7701. My guest, Washington and Carl, we're looking at those issues. Just before we went off, Carl, you were on a point. Could you came in with the issue that certain other nationalities are taking over the businesses that we can do?
Yes, and the point I was trying to make is that it is the mindset. If we look at the UK, when the Indians came in, I just was listening to a program on Radio 4 about £3. At the time, the title was £3 in my pocket. They came to settle.
Okay.
Yeah, and the mindset was we're going to settle. We need to do something for ourselves. Most of the Africans came to study, and the mindset was we are here for a very short period of time. We're going to go back home. So the idea of settling in, the idea of investing and going into business is a long-term investment, emotionally, financially, everything. So most Africans were not interested in going on that road. It is over generations that we realize that, okay, look, I've been here for 20 years, 40 years. I must as well prepare to settle in. And therefore, what can I do? My kids are growing up. And therefore, you find out, as I said again, within the last, at least from my point of view, within the last 12 years, that you've seen African businesses actually really, really growing. Because one, they've seen others doing it. And they say, well, if he can do it, I can also do it.
And probably better.
Yes. Archibald
is with us on the line. Hello, Archibald.
Hello there, mate.
Thank you very much for joining us. Your point, please.
All right. Hello there, mate. Just a quick one. I own a logistics company in the UK. I'm Ghanaian anyway, fully born, bred Ghanaian. Now I find this program a bit very interesting.
Right.
Now, what I realise is that if anybody wants to go into business, to my Ghanaian people especially, why do you want to go into a business? Is it because you got a shop, an empty shop that you want to put to use, or is it because you probably know how to cook and you want to set up a restaurant? You need a basic idea. You have to know why you want to get into business.
Okay.
I think a lot of Ghanaians lack that factor. They just go into business out of desperation sometimes. I run a courier company. It's a full-time logistics company. For the first time, I've got a client who's Ghanaian. He's a shipper.
Okay.
He does shipping to Ghana. For the first time, he phoned me up and he said to me, I want to ship things to Ghana, but with regards to picking up from my customers in the UK, I don't want to do anything with that. So basically what he's saying is he's specializing in his shipping business.
Okay.
With regards to logistics, as in courier picking up from clients in the UK, I don't want to know because I haven't got a logistics thing to do with it. Now, if you pick up about 10 shipping companies who ship to Ghana, what they tend to do, they buy their own van, put a flag on it. Even though they don't do courier, they don't know nothing about goods in transit, insurance, all of those things. They just buy a van, put a flag on it, Ghanaian big flag, and they start doing courier, and then at the same time doing shipping to Ghana.
Okay.
Now, what eventually happens is that you've got one company doing human resources within that same company. There's only two guys running the business, doing courier work in the UK, doing shipping to Ghana, and then doing logistics, part of the logistics.
So basically your point, Archibald, is people would need to know where they are going before they go, because if you don't, you mislead everybody that follows you. Archie?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. You need to know why you want to get into the business. Secondly, you need to specialize. Is this my field? If this is not my field, can I give it to somebody else? Because 9 out of 10 times we end up putting everything on ourselves. So then that restricts us from expanding.
Okay.
Another thing we would love to do, I would love to suggest, is advertising is quite expensive. But because 9 out of 10 times we run the business to our own community, we don't advertise. When you look at a company like Coca-Cola, they've been there for thousands of years, but they still advertise because they want to reach out to everyone.
Everyone, that's right.
But our businesses are targeted at only Ghanaians. So Ghanaian restaurant, only Ghanaians. Indian restaurant, everyone. It's not as if we're not clever or we don't have business minds or anything like that.
Are we not daring enough? Do you think we are not daring enough?
We're not daring enough, and we're not daring enough.
Well, thank you, Archie, for that.
No
it takes me right into the next point I wanted to put to my guests in the studio, Coca and Washington. Looking at what we need to have before we set up our businesses and what we need to put in to make it grow. Logistics. Archie was talking about logistics. We kind of just get up and do anything. Is that an issue you've seen with the group you lead?
It is. I mean, education, just the skills base, the knowledge of knowing that if I want to set up a law firm, there's so many other things that get involved besides practicing law. I still have to have an accountant, as the previous guest caller was saying, that you still need to know how you're going to conduct all the other areas of the business. So we need to have that understanding that education is very important in terms of how to run the business.
So how do you help your people?
How do we help our people? We always, like the caller was saying, encourage people to find partnerships with other people who can deliver services within your business. That's the only way you can grow. As a business, I run my own business. I can't be worrying about accounts, because if I do that, that's taking away from the time I should be dedicating to delivering the service we offer. Right. And I'm now concentrating on running the books. So there's a lot of skills importation that needs to happen before you can successfully run a business.
Does the size of a business affect some of these things and challenges we're looking at?
It does. It does a lot. And but I think in regards to what the caller was referring to, I think one of the things we should look at is what are the reasons one decides to go into business in the first place. And I think that you need two qualities, or one of them will be good, either passion or experience in that chosen field. Either of them will help you along. But I think most of the time we go into business because of the end result, what we perceive that we're going to be successful from the business. And therefore you get in and you find out that, okay, there's all this cost associated with it, and therefore you decide that I'm going to do all of it. And therefore you become this one-man band, as the caller was expressing. So the reason is what the problem is. Why we get into the business in the first place is always my question. I got into business because, not because I wanted to make money, and I keep telling everybody this, because one, as a Ghanaian, I came here and I found out that there were only two places I could go and eat, and I felt that it wasn't good enough.
So that was your passion?
So that was my passion, and therefore it's what has kept me going. I have no idea of business. I had never run a business before. I had never pulled a pint before, but because we were daring and we wanted to succeed, we forced it through.
Right. Dr. John is with us on the line. Hello, doctor.
Hello, sir. How are you?
We're doing good. Are you?
I'm perfect myself.
Good. Let's have your point, please.
Indeed, I just want to pick up a point on where you said that Africans or black people, you said, who were in the UK, what should they go into? What kind of business?
Yes.
I believe I concur with my friend, Mr. Washington. I think we met in London sometime at the PCA meeting. I think business, the way I call it, is a vehicle to solve a problem in the community. And that's the starting point. For anyone who wants to go into any business, they must look for a problem in the community they want to solve.
Okay.
And if they find that problem, people will buy the service in exchange. And simple as that. So coming back to our communities, I come from Zambia myself.
Yeah.
And I think the best business I can ever launch is where people need help. For example, education.
Right.
Food.
Yes.
Import and export.
Okay.
Now, before I go any further to launch any of these businesses, I've got to put the critical mass. How many of these people want to buy from me?
Right.
Is it worth the time? Then I make a projection of the 250 years later. How would my business be viewed 250 years later?
Okay.
Then are the case for me to launch. Why do I talk about 250 years? We have to look at generations.
Right, doctor.
I think those are a few points I'd like to contribute.
Thank you very much, Dr. John. The need. You saw a need. your passion drove you and you established the business. When you go in and you realize that there's more to it than meets the eye, how do you turn around and probably get it right? I'm asking this because if you don't grow the business, it becomes stunted, and the service that you have a passion to deliver becomes a nightmare for the people. I believe I'm painting a picture here.
Yes.
How do you grow with the passion? Do you have to go borrow? Do you have to form partnership, probably as Washington was trying to put across? And what? How did you manage it?
God, I managed because...
have I hit a wrong name somewhere?
Yes, you have, definitely. In my case, because I had nothing to go back to. I had burned all the bridges. So it was either I survive or I sink. And that basically drove me to continue. So it moved from being a passion to becoming in a state where it was purely survival. Now, in my case, and again, I was very lucky. I was one of the early Ghanaian restaurants was established. So for the first few years, it was very, very good. You get arrogant. And again, there wasn't any need actually to improve because you kind of had a monopoly. And where you have monopoly,
and that's where the danger is.
That's where the danger is.
Let's get your experience on that. How to turn things around and improve.
For us, as an association, we've been around for 8 years now. And one of the things that we know through study is that any new start business needs to survive its first 3 years. It tends to be over 3 years before you start becoming profitable. Now, a lot of our people have come into business, are setting up a business to service a today need, and that's where you've got to get your mindset different. If you understand that I'm not here to service today's problem, and you're in it for the long run, then you can last those first 3 years where it's very difficult.
Kojo from Enfield, let's get your perspective. Hello. Yes, Kojo. Yes, we're going to get the perspective of Kojo from Enfield. Yes. Hello, Kojo.
It's regarding the Ghanaian business in this country.
Yes, please, let's hear.
Can I advise the Ghanaians doing business in this country to focus mainly on the quality of the goods and services they provide? For example,
if you talk about the quality, what has gone wrong and how do they fix it?
Well, for example, if you go to a Ghanaian restaurant, most of the food you eat, I would say, is not of good quality, and you have to wait for ages. Another example, another scenario is
Carl, this concern is nothing new. It takes forever.
No, the fact that it's been going on for long doesn't mean it's the right thing. How do you advise the foreigners?
Hold on, Kojo. Carl, why does it happen so? And customer service in itself is a basic issue with every African that goes into a service provider.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. Let's take the time that it takes to start with. And then it's something that I have in my restaurant all the time. Now, I would say when you go to a traditional or a normal European restaurant, you start by having a starter, a glass of wine. It gives the chefs time to prepare your main course. There is time in between. We're coming from a culture where we actually probably started the fast food. So you will go to a choba. Most of us grew up in choba. We didn't really have those restaurants. You go there, the food is there.
Choba is just a wayside restaurant.
Roadside or street side. You
get. Could you please stay on the line? We'll come back to you. Just stay on the line.
I understand what the gentleman is saying, but my argument is.
Could you hold on? Let me get him to finish. I'll come back to you. Just hold on.
So most of us are used to that. Now, in my restaurant, if you come there and you order for any of the dishes, because it is cooked on order, it's going to take some time, right?
Half an hour?
It will take probably, an average is around 50 minutes. It depends on how busy we are, and it depends on what you've ordered, and it depends on the number of groups that we have, that we are catering for. So I'll give you an example. On Mother's Day, we were very, very busy, and there were cases where people were waiting for over 2 hours.
Okay. Well, let me just get a cup of tea, and I'll be back with you.
Focus on Ghana is brought to you in association with MoneyGram.